Please excuse the noise outside the studio. It is a flipping disgrace. Please excuse the noise outside the studio. The Silent Scream, episode 2. Although I did say in the last episode of the Hammer House of Horror, I went into IMDb and the episode listings are completely different than the listings that the actual box set gives. So I'm going by the box set listings on this here, so I'm not taking and putting this, like I'm labelling these episodes as episode reviews, but I'm not putting the episode numbers in. And again, please excuse the noise outside the studio. It is a flipping disgrace at this time of the day. This is a fantastic episode. The first episode we did, The House That Bled to Death, which now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm kind of thinking I'll need to go back and rewatch the episode. But I don't think I actually called it by name in the review. If not, I do apologise. But this one here has the great Peter Cushing in it at his best, I have to say. Regular in the Hammer horror movies. It was good to see him in this series as well. It also stars Brian Cox, Elaine Donnelly, Anthony Carrick, Robin Brown, Kerry Tinsella. So, small cast. Very good episode. I'm just going by what IMDb is given here as a quick synopsis here. When Chuck Spillers is released from prison, he tells his wife Annie that he had been visited by an old man, Martin Buick, along a sentence while he was serving time for robbing a safe. Buick had given him some money for him to get a fresh start in life. On the next morning, Chuck pays a visit to the pet shop where Peter Cushing's character owns, to thank him for helping him out, and he's offered a job in the pet shop. I just went completely off that. Yes, turns out Peter Cushing's character is in the basement of this pet shop. He's got all these huge cages and he's got like animals like lions, tigers, black panthers, you name it, a whole load of stuff, monkeys. They're all in these cages, but the cages, all the doors are open on them. And of course the guy, he's freaking out. He's like, is it safe to be in here? And he says, it's 100% safe, but I want you to feed the animals for a couple of days. I'm going away. I want you to help me out. After me giving you money to help you get a fresh start, pay me back by doing this for a couple of days. Feed the animals. So as I say, the cages are all opened and the animals are they're in there, but they're not coming out. And Cushing and Cox, they set out the food, and Peter Cushing presses a button. There's a buzzer that sounds. Once it goes off, the animals come out of the cages, get their food, go back into it, and he's like, it's safe, 100% safe here if you know what to do. So he disappears off over the next few days. Cox's character, he's feeding the animals, he's pressing the button, buzzer sounds, buzzer goes off, the animals come out, get their food, go back in. And during this he notices there's a safe on the next floor up, and it turns out that this is actually bait that Cushing's character has set for him. And of course temptation gets the better of him, and he goes and tries to open the safe, but a trapdoor opens up below him. He ends up falling into a cage as well, steel cage, and he's trapped. And he discovers from Cushing later on in the episode that Cushing is trying to create a prison with no bars, and the prisoners stay prisoners because they're too scared to move, more or less. And yes, later on in the episode, the girlfriend actually tracks him down, tries to save him from this cage. She ends up getting trapped as well. And we discover that Peter Cushing's character, he had talked earlier in the episode about, about being in the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. And we discover later on in the episode that he wasn't actually a prisoner, but he was one of the captors in it. So there's a nice little twist at the end of this episode where they actually managed to escape from the prison. As I said, the cages that the animals were in, the cage doors were always open at a point, and they wouldn't come out until this buzzer sounded. So Cox and the girlfriend trapped in the cage. Door opens up into the garden outside of the place, and it's like freedom is within 2 steps away. And they managed to work out the setup that Cushing has set in this cage, and they actually managed to escape, and they think they're free and they're gone. They get back to their home out in the countryside, and everything's fine and well. We're free, we can do what we want. They come in to the kitchen, and they're going to make dinner and get something to eat. And when Cox's character, I keep calling him Cox, his real name, I could be calling him by a completely different name. Yes, Brian Cox as Chuck, the girlfriend, Annie, Elaine Donnelly. Before they returned home, Chuck goes back into the basement to go after Peter Cushing's character, and unknown to Cushing, the Black Panther that he has had trapped in the cage has also worked out the buzzer set up, and that gets out of its cage and starts to go after Cushing. Cushing is on the top floor above the cage where Chuck and the girlfriend were caught at, and he ends up falling into his own trap. So Chuck, girlfriend, leave. He's stuck in his own cage. Screw him. Off they go. When they're back home, unknown to them, while they were trapped in the cage in the basement of the pet shop, Cushing had left, went to their house, and he had set up an entire trap system within their own home. So the episode finishes off with them in the kitchen, and Chuck goes to go out of the house to get something, and you hear the buzzer sound that you heard in the basement of the pet shop. They go to a window buzzer. They see all these mad contraptions all over the house, and like the roof is electrified and things get, so they're trapped in their own kitchen at home. And Chuck's girlfriend is like, maybe this guy will actually come and let us out. And he's like, he can't. He's trapped. He's stuck in his own traps. The episode finishes off. Chuck and the girlfriend are trapped in Peter Cushing's trap in their own home, and there's a nice shot at the end of it where they're screaming, the camera's looking in from outside of the house into the kitchen, and it's panning away from them, and they're screaming, help me, and it keeps panning out further and further, and you can see across the fields their house, and then there's the noise of traffic, so their screams are being drowned out by the noise of cars and trucks and everything passing, and then the image fades across that image of Peter Cushing trapped in the cell, and he's screaming through it's like a steel cage with a one-way mirror set up on it, so if you're inside the cage, obviously you can't see out, but outside the cage you can see in. And Cushing is trapped in this cage, and it's completely soundproof, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, and there's actually no noise whatsoever. So that is the title of the episode, The Silent Scream. It is absolutely fantastic, this episode. I really did enjoy this. It's just well done, well acted, and Peter Cushing, probably at one of his most terrifying moments. Even though, if you look at the entire episode, not the most amount of screen time for Peter Cushing, but when he's on screen, he is phenomenal in this role. Definitely, if you're going to buy the box set of the Hammer House of Horror, this is definitely one of the episodes I'd recommend you checking out.